Good evening, and welcome to the Overlook Drive-In. The Overlook Hotel was built over a century ago on an old Native American burial ground. Just recently, we added a beautiful state-of-the-art drive-in screen out back. You don't just get a peaceful, cozy stay at the Overlook, but you get to enjoy one of the finest outdoor cinemas as well. At the Overlook Drive-In, we don't just watch and review major motion picture films. Here, we rank them too. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask. My name is Zach. We hope you enjoy your stay. Enjoy the show, and if you will, please follow Mr. Grady to room 237. He will take care of you.
Thank you for that intro, Zach. Yes, this is the Overlook Drive-In episode 2, and we are bringing to you, as Zach just stated, I Know What You Did Last Summer, broadcasting. I guess we're not broadcasting, we're recording, I suppose, in the Phantom Empire studios, joined on this episode by my co-host, Mr. Mike Bish. What's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. Coming off of a pretty solid weekend. Excited to get episode 2 going, man. That's episode 1 was really good with The Shining, and I'm glad we're jumping into this movie. I feel like this is a movie that's really not talked about a lot um by amongst the horror fans. So I'm excited to jump into it. I'm excited for really honestly looking at our lineup and what we got in store. So great lineup coming up. And I'm ready to kick off episode 2 with I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Absolutely looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Um, Dude, what do you remember? I know we talked a little bit before going live or recording this thing uh, about first experiences with this movie, and you were having a hard time remembering. But can you remember anything at all about your first viewing, where you were, who you seen it with, your reaction to it?
Yeah, I remember I was actually with my dad when I saw this. I was actually with him down at my aunt's house who lives in North Carolina. And she was like, hey, um, my dad, I don't know, I'm trying to remember. I think Jennifer Love Hewitt came up somehow, and we got on that topic. And by this time, I was super into horror films. And I just remember, talking about this with him and my aunt, and we decided to sit down and watch it. I don't remember too much as far as the movie and kind of what stuck with me. The only thing that I know that stuck with me at the time as a kid was the Hook Man. That's what I called him, the Hook Man. And my brothers and sisters, they eventually ended up seeing the movie as well, not at the same time. And the Hook Man, along with Michael Myers, were the two that always kind of stuck out for some reason. And I don't know why. It's that, I guess, that mystique look, when you first see the Hook Man, where you don't really see his eyes, obviously, until the end of the film and when you find out who he is. But just that fisherman outfit and that really big ass hook. I don't know, man. That's just kind of really what I remember. I wish I remembered more deeply, like I did with The Shining. But when it comes to this, that's kind of vaguely what I remember. The Hook Man sticks out to me.
So when I was a kid, we lived in this very old apartment building. Had everything you needed. It was just old and big, so it was not open concept. Um, so when I came out of my bedroom, there was kind of like a wall that extended there. So I could come out of my bedroom and stay on that side of the wall and not be seen by the people in the living room, but I could still see the TV in the living room. So my thing was, I thought I was smart, and whenever I'd hear my parents start to get up, I'd race back into my bed. Uh,
Classic.
yeah, my mom was getting annoyed, and my dad was like, "Just let him watch it." And they caught me 3 or 4 times. Just this is all within the first part of the movie before they hit. Is Billy the killer's name? I feel like Billy is the killer's name.
What
I
in
always
this
get
in
mixed
this film?
Yes.
Um,
They hit Hookman
y-
anyway. Uh,
yeah, I'm trying.
and
I'm trying to figure it out now.
it's all in the beginning portion of the film anyway. They hit the guy where they're feeling all guilty, and David from Roseanne, and I forget that other big TV show he's on. I haven't seen it. Big Bang Theory, I think. Um, drives up and they, act like they're just puking at the side of the road. And like so up to that point, I'm on the other side of the wall watching the movie just because I don't want to go to bed. I'm being a pain in the ass. So I end up coming out and seeing the movie, and I go to sit with my parents. My dad's like, "No, no, no, you go sit over there." So my dad makes me sit over there. It just came out in '97, right? So I would have been all of 9 years old, and I watched the movie, and Hookman scared the fucking shit out of me.
Hookman.
I was petrified of basically any raincoat I seen for the next year or two. It was horrible. I paid for staying up when I shouldn't have. Um, there was a lot of sleepless nights for a couple of months, and I remember my parents actually getting into some arguments because my dad was the one that chose to let me stay up for it. And I remember my dad going on too, being like, "Oh, you're a wimp. If you think that's scary, you've seen nothing yet." And here I am at 9, like, no, that's the scariest thing. Oh boy, little did I know.
Oh, that's That's good, man. It's funny because I did that stuff when I was a kid. Sneaking into the living room. Um, the way my living room was set up, it was you'd come out into the hallway, you turn right, and then you walk down the hallway. The back of the couch would be right there, and then they'd be facing the TV. So I always used to sneak out of the room to the up to the back side of the couch, or bend down to the side of the couch and watch TV that way. And I've watched some interesting things on that TV, mostly a lot of horror stuff for the first time, kind of like you, but super super interesting story, man. I think it's funny. I think in the movie, the fisherman is obviously what he's called, but as a kid, you just see that hook, and to you, he's the hook man. He's the one, yeah, the hook man. That's who it is. So that's what me and my brother and sisters associated this movie with, and the killer with, which his name was I just had it up, as the killer. So I think was Billy Blue was what they thought the killer was. But I was Ben Willis was actually
Ben Willis, right. Billy Blue
Ben.
was his son?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Because there was the sister played by,
Oh, I'm sorry. Billy Blue was so Freddie Prince Jr. His character, the name of his boat was Billy Blue, and he went and saw that short blonde headed girl to investigate, and he gave her the name Billy Blue, is what his name was. And that's how towards the end of the movie, Jennifer Love Hewitt, who plays Julie James in the film, saw on the side of on Ray's boat that it said Billy Blue, and she thought that he was the killer. So yeah, so that's how the Billy Blue thing came along.
that short blonde-haired girl was actually, played by Anne Hesh, who,
And
was
Hash.
Hesh,
Yeah,
yeah,
she did, yeah.
recently in that, horrible accident that she lost her life to. So,
Yeah.
definitely, thoughts, are with her family, and her loved ones. It's kind of crazy that we're doing this episode like right after. Obviously, wasn't planned, and we'd planned to do this
Yeah.
before it had happened tragically. So, uh,
Interesting also about that house that she's staying in. That house, where they go visit her and she's out there in that big house. That house is actually the same house that they use in The Conjuring.
well, it's funny that you mentioned that. It's funny that you mentioned that. That's a completely unintended segue, believe it or not. And that is, let's move on to 10 things about the making of I Know What You Did Last Summer. And I can honestly say, dude, I didn't know about most of these. So I'm curious to see and hear your reaction to it. First up is no one wanted Freddie Prince Jr. for the movie. At the time he was cast as Ray, uh, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, Freddie Prinze Jr. was known primarily for being the son of a famous comedian. He had only a few small roles in movies that few people saw, plus a couple television appearances to his name. So basically,
Hmm.
and I guess they would have been doing the casting for this back in '96. But basically, the studio executives thought he was too slim and soft looking. What a what a reason to not cast someone.
Yeah, that's I mean, obviously you're thinking about the 90s and, you know, I'm not saying these days things aren't all about looks. Some, looks play a factor in movies period. But I don't know, dude. I think that's weird. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Interesting. It's just a weird reasoning why not to cast him. But
Fact number two: Melissa Joan Hart turned down a role in the movie, and considering where some of these various people in this movie come from, obviously you got oh man, Freddie Prince Jr., who went on and he did Scooby Doo. Uh, we just went over about him being the son of a famous comedian. Then you had Jennifer Love Hewitt, who was from Party of Five, I believe. Was she in Party of Five?
no,
Or
I
was,
don't.
no,
I don't
that was
that was Nev Campbell.
Bev Campbell that was in Party. I feel like Jennifer Love Hewitt had her own show around the time of
She,
Party of Five, though.
I feel like she was in something. I'd have to look her. I'd have to look that up. That's
And
interesting though.
and then obviously Freddie Prince Jr.'s wife, Sarah Michelle Gellar, who plays I guess his girlfriend's friend in the movie. They don't really have much to do between the two of them in the movie, other than when they're in group scenes, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, it was a movie. It was typical '90s horror movie that borrowed from TV series and used the popular TV stars. I remember Cabin Fever using
Oh yeah.
on from Boy Meets World. So like
Yep.
it was a popular thing to do back then. But the star of Sabrina, a Teenage Witch, was not in the movie, but she had a chance. Ryan Phillippe, who played Barry Cox in the movie, was cast thanks to his famous girlfriend. Um, I believe, yeah, he was dating at that time Reese Witherspoon.
Oh
So,
wow, interesting. I didn't know that.
so I'm not sure how she got him a job other than her standing, but yeah. Then obviously we had the Freddie Prince Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar eventually going on to get married. However, they didn't actually get together until after they were done filming these movies. They were only friends, both of them claim. So that's interesting. Maybe that's why it's worked out for them. Uh, the director was ordered to make the movie bloodier. Oh, geez, studio interference. Couldn't imagine that happening. Um, Jim Gillespie, I believe. Jim Gillespie didn't want to make his movie too graphic. The producers had other ideas, ordering him to reshoot the scene in which Helen's sister gets her throat cut in order to make it bloodier. They wanted her demise to be shown in gory detail.
It's pretty graphic. So yeah.
Well, it's funny because he gets back at the studio executives, and we're going to talk about it right here. Is Jim Gillespie hated the original ending, which found Julie receiving an email saying, "I still know." He told Digital Spy that he shot the sequence in as boring manner as possible because he didn't want it to be in the film. So basically, he went out and laid an egg. His plan worked. When the movie was screened for test audience, they deemed it anticlimactic. At this point, the studio head told Gillespie to come up with something else, something more exciting. And this is a big thing because on this channel, obviously, we've been covering Halloween Ends and Halloween Kills. Halloween Ends specifically has had a lot of test screenings.
Yeah.
So anybody that doesn't think that, word comes from test screenings to change stuff, it does happen. It's not just, tinkering either. Sometimes it's full on sequence changes. I found that funny though, because the website that I snagged this off of, that was the point right after the studio screwing him. So it was almost like his way to get back at the studio. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't want to do
That's
this.
fine. You want to do that? Yeah.
So, yeah, the author, big shock. We just covered a movie where this happened. The author hated the movie. That's right. I Know What You Did Last Summer is actually a book by Lois Duncan, as Zach said off the start. Um, and they hated it. They couldn't stand it.
Yeah, not shocked with that one.
So Stephen King and Lois Duncan back-to-back weeks have something in common.
Yeah.
There's another interesting one here. I don't know if you know this, dude, but I Know What You Did Last Summer spawned 2 sequels. You probably know about one of them. The other might come as a surprise unless you're a hardcore fan. Rushed into production to come out a year after the original, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer brought back Freddie Prince Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt, with McKee Pfeiffer and pop singer Brandy were added to the cast. Although it performed respectably at the box office, the sequel was widely considered inferior to the predecessor. Years later, in 2006, there was a second sequel, I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, had no big names in the cast and bypassed theaters altogether, going straight to DVD instead. It holds a 0% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I need to see this
I was
movie.
about to say, I have to check it out. I actually did know it existed. I want to say because on my Amazon Fire Stick, I just did the voice thing. I just said I Know What You Did Last Summer one night, and I wanted to watch it out. And first one, second one popped up, and then another movie and another movie, and then down the line, I saw I Always Know What You Did Last Summer. I'm like, the fuck is this? I didn't click on it obviously, but I'm like, interesting.
Well, it gets more interesting. This one excites me. Um, Given how frequently popular horror franchises receive the reboot treatment, it's a bit surprising that I Know What You Did Last Summer hasn't been brought back yet outside of the TV series. If you've been eagerly awaiting a new installment, we have some good news and some bad news.
Yikes.
The good news is that there has been a reboot in the works for several years. There's even a screenplay finished by Jeff Howard and Mike Flanagan.
What?
Bad news is they haven't heard back since handing it in, so they haven't been turned away, but it hasn't been accepted, and it's just sort of still in that process. So I'd be curious to see what Flanagan could do with it, even if it's just from a writing perspective.
So, man, I always thought that this was something that didn't deserve to be touched again. I kind of don't want to see it, but you had to throw fucking Mike Flanagan's name in there, didn't you? You had to do, you had to do it.
Stunned when I read that earlier. I'm like, oh, we can't not talk about this.
Man, now it does intrigue me because I respect him so much and I love his work and everything. A lot of the stuff that he's been involved in, I've really enjoyed. So, man, I
Maybe
don't know.
maybe this should just become the Mike Flanagan podcast, because we started with The Shining, where Doctor Sleep came up in week 1. We're doing I Know What You Did Last Summer. Somehow Mike Flanagan comes up again, and next week we got Hush. So
Yeah, true.
it's Mike Flanagan. So yeah, there you have it. 10 intriguing things. That last one really wasn't about the making of I Know What You Did Last Summer, but 10 intriguing things about the movie. Comment down below what you thought of those things, and if you'd be interested in a Mike Flanagan written, doesn't say anything about directed, but written I Know What You Did Last Summer project. I'll say this, it intrigues me. It intrigues me. So let's move on, though. It's time for the scorecard. The scorecard is our main topic for the week, where we go through 5, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 categories. Each of these categories is scored out of 10. This is how we determine our final score for each of these movies. You can check our Facebook group out, the Overlook Drive-In. At the time of recording this, it's still not a thing, so hopefully it's a thing by the time you see this. And you should be seeing this episode on August the 29th. So go on Facebook, look for that. Check us out on Twitter at Phantom Empire Now, or Mike at Michael Bish _ as well. 5 main categories for our scorecard are story and pacing, acting, cinematography and set design, writing and directing, and sound and score. Mike, let's start with story and pacing. What did you think of it? and what did you give it and why?
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I thought it was I was intrigued throughout the entire movie. I didn't feel bored with the movie at all. I actually rewatched it last night when I got back home from the race. I was like, oh, perfect timing, perfect time to watch this film. So I was able to do that. And I've seen it 100 times, and I'm still intrigued every time with it. I love the opening scene with the guy on the rocks. You know, because you know you don't know what's going to happen there. Is he going to jump? You know, who is this guy? You know, for the first time seeing it, what is he going to do? And obviously, it shoots to the fireworks, and not too long into the movie, you know, they end up hitting the guy. Um, it's a movie. I don't feel like the movie's too long at all. I think it's perfect for my taste. And for me to not get bored, I think it's pretty well paced. So for me, I gave it an 8.5. I thought that the story was just different. And it's just I like these iconic characters, and unfortunately, he doesn't get brought up to this day, but I go back to kind of what you said, Sean. It really freaked you out as a kid. I don't want to say that it freaked me out to the point where it did you for months, but it was scary at the time, and he was known as the hook man, you know, amongst me and my friends and my brother and my sisters. So um maybe not the iconic character like the original slashers are, the very known well slashers, but to me in my childhood, he was, you know, this movie and this story and this character, the fisherman, the hook man, was very iconic.
Yeah, I mean, he's not obviously any of the big four. He's not Michael. He's not Freddy. He's not Jason. He's not Leatherface. He's not even Ghostface, to be honest. And I do think that maybe that is one area that might hurt the franchise in general is
Yeah.
the fact that he's not any of those guys. He's never been any of those guys, and to be
Because I
quite
mean,
frank, never going to be any of those guys, regardless who tackles the franchise.
yeah, and if you think about it, what do all of those characters have in common? They have a like a mask, or you know what I mean? Something that um visual, when you see it, you know exactly what it is. You see a guy in a trench coat, you might not exactly know who it is. Let's just say you're normal horror fan, or not even a big horror fan, can see Michael Myers, that mask, and be like, oh, that's Michael Myers. That's, you know, that's scary. Or they can see Freddy. I associate that with horror. But you see the Hookman just donned in his suit. Obviously it can be scary in the setting and in the story, but outside, like I said, it's not, and like Sean said, not very iconic with the top four.
No, and I do think it's also it's weird because specifically when it comes to the story. Apologies if you see lights on my face. I'm trying to multitask here. When you look at the story, it's kind of a tale of two stories, dude. At times it feels like it's trying to be Scream 2 or Halloween H2O. And sure enough, Kevin Williamson's involved. So,
Yeah.
he's
I'm
in both
I'm
of
a
those
big
franchises.
I'm a big fan of Kevin Williamson. For me, I like H2O. I love this film. I'm a big Dawson's Creek guy. Like I love, I love a lot of the stuff that Kevin Williamson has been in. Um, so yeah.
It definitely has a Kevin Williamson vibe to it, which is probably why it didn't resonate as well for me on the rewatch because I'm like, oh, Halloween H2O. Okay, a movie that I thought could be much better than what it was. Um, but it it is what it is, I suppose. At the end of the day, I do think the movie suffers though because at times I understand why a guy as complex as Mike Flanagan would have interest in the story because of the way your story unfolds. Like the first half an hour is just unfolding what happened the summer before. So you get a lot of depth there, and there's a lot of hints, and there's a lot of clues. Um, and I'm pretty sure during the one daytime scene, when Barry and the girls are walking, or when Barry's getting ready to go approach David from Roseanne. I forget his name in the movie. I'm pretty sure like he walks right by Hookman, right in the daylight. They don't even make a point of like making it a big deal. Or maybe it's just a random other hook guy.
Dude, I have
Uh,
to go back and see that.
so I was like, oh, there it is, the long raincoat, and um, so like at times it feels like something Mike Flanagan would tackle, and I think it has a hard time distinguishing if it's going to be this complex piece where you got to figure out, well, what really happened, and that's sort of the Anne Hesh or Hesh part of the movie. Um, and then it also tries to be a slasher, and I got to tell you, I think the trying to be a slasher elements of this movie is what hurts it, and it's clear just from reading that bit off the top that the director obviously had a little bit more of a complex vision for the movie and wanted to be more creative, and the studio wanted your typical, well, we got to see blood, we got to see gore, we got to know this, we got to know that. So studio interference, we're going to hear that a lot, but I just I can't help but wonder what Flanagan could do with a movie like this with its story. I'd
Well,
be
I
curious to
guess
take on this that has nothing to do with a slasher. Like extend it out. I heard the TV series was terrible. I didn't watch it.
yeah, I didn't really enjoy it. I watched one episode. I was like, yeah, this isn't it. I mean, totally different from even the movie. Like, anyways. But I guess my question for you with that is, what would you rather see? Would you like to see Mike Flanagan tackle it in kind of a way that the director seemed to originally wanted to go with, or would you like him to take on that slasher scene?
I'd like him to make a Mike Flanagan movie.
Yeah.
Complex and makes you think, and it puts you in the movie, um, which I think this movie does at times, and then gets away and tries to be Scream and Halloween H2O. I know it came out a year before, but um, yeah. So like when this movie's good, I feel like it has those complex issues. It's challenging. Well, what happened and what's going on here? And when it's bad, I feel like it's trying to be a little bit of a corny slasher. So it's a mixed bag for me.
I got you. I'm trying. I, See, I'm glad that we obviously we're so invested in The Shining that our difference of opinions were not going to be much last week or last episode. So I'm glad that we're on this one because this is a film that I still really enjoyed. That I thought the pace in the story was pretty solid. So I'm glad that we do have this difference of opinion that we can discuss. Uh, because I feel like um again after rewatch it's still a movie that really intrigues me. So
It's a great movie in terms of like 90s horror. You're not
true.
going to find too many 90s horror movies that I think do a better job than this movie. Um, and at the end of the day, how much more can you ask for out of a 90s horror movie? So
Well,
like
I guess after your rewatch, not getting into your score obviously already, but do you still enjoy this film? Or do you
yeah,
want to save that?
I would still I like when that 4K comes out, I would like an opportunity to possibly pick it up. Yeah, for sure. I didn't rate like I'm not going to say what my score is, if like my overall score. I'm about to give the story and pacing, but um, like I thought, oh wow, I'm being critical, and then I seen the Rotten Tomato scores, and it's like, oh
I,
no,
I thought
no, I'm
you were fair. Yeah.
being kind of fair. So there are elements of this movie that are really, really good, and then there are some elements of this movie that are less than so. Story and pacing for me is a 6.5. It's a mixed bag. Less trying to be a slasher and more of what it apparently Jim, the director, wanted. And the movie probably ends up better than it even ended up with Final Cut. How about you? What are you giving it?
Oh,
Or
I gave it an 8.5.
8.5 and a 6.5. So it's a 2 point difference. I don't think we had anywhere close to a 2 point difference last week in any of our categories.
No, yeah. I mean, it was rightfully so though.
The acting. I'll take lead off on this one. It is just downright bad at times. Like I get it, horror movies are not going to be, an Academy Award winning film, but we're also not just like when we review these films, like we might be doing I Know What You Did Last Summer this week, and we could be doing Titanic in February. So like you gotta rate it as a movie, not just as a horror movie. And
True.
um, there are some good performances in this movie. Um, it's weird because I think Jennifer Love Hewitt, when she's at her best in this movie, is really fucking good, and it makes me wonder why just she never went further with it.
Agreed.
I know she's on a show that Jade watches,
Currently?
911 Lone Star or something
Oh,
like that. Yeah,
I think it's like 911. I was looking at her IMDb earlier.
it's
Uh,
definitely a big.
but if you kind of look, I guess she wasn't in a lot of big things. I guess after this film, I mean, I know she had the film The Client List, and then that turned into a TV show that she was on for a while. I think it was on Lifetime or something like that. Uh,
She did a film with. I think his name is Ryan Phillippe from or Philip Ryan Phillippe. I don't know how he pronounces his last name, but the fellow who plays Barry in this movie.
okay, I didn't know that.
Those two did another. I believe it was a horror movie that was pretty successful too. I wish I had the name of it here. If anybody who's watching this right now knows what movie they were in, post it down in the comment section below. We would love to hear it. They
And
were.
she was in Party of Five, by the way.
She was like a regular cast member.
I'm assuming. I guess it's Party. Yeah, she was in Party of Five.
And was Nev Campbell as well?
Yes.
Wow. Oh, that's kind of intriguing. I thought it was one or the other. I didn't know it was both.
Look. It's under her IMDb credit, so I don't know how much she was in there.
I'm just pulling up her IMDb.
Oh, she was in 100 episodes.
A Party of Five. Wow.
Yeah, Nev Campbell was in 142, so she was in a good amount.
Man, it's killing me that I can't think of the name of this movie, so I got to look it up here. I'll see it as soon as it pops up. Or maybe I won't.
Was it?
Uh,
That's a TV show. Yeah, like she's been in like shows like Law and Order and Criminal Minds and 911.
yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not seeing it pop up.
Yeah, neither am I. So maybe hold off on that one. I could have swore she was in it with that fellow though. But maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about. Dude, what did you think of the acting in I Know What You Did Last Summer?
It had its bad moments for sure. I do agree with you about Jennifer Love Hewitt. When she's on, she is on. Um, I don't know. I didn't really like a lot of Ryan Phillippe's stuff. I mean, it wasn't too bad, but some stuff was just a little corny. Some of the stuff Freddie Prince Jr. said was a little corny. It was just kind of, I guess, I don't know. I guess just that corniness of the '90s that was out there. Maybe maybe back then it probably wasn't as corny as it sounds now. It doesn't. I guess it doesn't hold up as far as the dialogue and things like that.
I just figured out where my fuck up was. So it's not Jennifer Love Hewitt in it. It's him again with Sarah Michelle Gellar again.
Okay.
They're in Cruel Intentions together.
Cruel Intentions. Okay.
Cruel Intentions.
Yes.
So, which was a fairly successful movie.
It was.
So,
it was.
Freddie Prince Jr. is fucking terrible in this movie. I don't know how to like.
He is. Yeah, that's probably the worst for me. I didn't mind. Like I said, I thought Jennifer Love Hewitt for the most part was great. I thought Sharon Michelle Gellar was pretty good. I guess when it comes down to it, a lot of it does have to do with Freddie Prince Jr., to be honest. So for me, I would say it has its strong moments and it has its bad moments for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I gave it a 6 for acting. That might seem harsh, but I thought that it was very apparent that it was missing someone with some leadership in their core four. Not to say that the experience they had in the TV programs that each of them had worked on to that point wasn't valuable in any way, um, but rather it just you need someone who can really grab the bull by the horns and lead the way. And
Yeah.
they had David from Roseanne, I forget the actor's name, who, like, when he's in the movie, he's fine. He's good. He's believable. Uh, Kudos to Sarah Michelle Gellar and her stunt double on the chase scene. Like that's amazing. That's an incredible feat.
I was about to say, do we want to jump into the chase scene?
Um, let's wait till cinematography. We're getting to that next. So
Okay, cool.
that's one of the better ones. So, yeah, I gave it a 6. So that moves us on to cinematography and set design. Um,
Oh,
so
you want me to give you my acting score?
oh, for some reason I thought you did. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I gave it a 7.
A 7. So 7 and a 6. So we're at a 3-point difference already. Cinematography and set design. At times, dude, I think it looks really good. Like when they're having that campfire by the lake and the old boats there, that looks badass. And
Yeah,
at times, it almost feels like they're trying to be Halloween, like Carpenter's original with some of the shots, but it just doesn't come off right. Like Hookman when he kills David from Roseanne, forget his name, and Max, I think his name was in the
it's
movie.
Max. Yeah,
Uh, it I think you needed to show more of him because like you can barely make him out. It's obviously
yeah.
oh, Hookman did it, but I thought you could have shown a little more of him. So it has its moments, for sure. Um, but some of the stuff just comes across super cheap, like that theater they're in for the pageant just looks horrendous. It looks like some $180 hall you pay to rent out for your Thursday night shuffleboard or something. I don't know. It's there's a lot of very cheap set pieces in this movie. However, the stuff where when they're in the little town, which is obviously the summer after where the chase scene takes place, that little old school town vibe, I really dug. But for what was supposed to be a fisherman's town, I don't think they did a good enough job of making it feel that way on the docks, like, at all. I've seen better, uh, in movies where it's not supposed to be a fisherman's town, so, I don't know. Coulda done better, in my opinion. I know I'm negative, man, I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize. To so a little story before I jump into this. One of the things that so actually let me start off by saying this. So my cousin lives probably about 15 minutes from Southport, North Carolina, where this movie was filmed. So I've been to Southport where they filmed this, so I've seen a lot of the filming locations. Um, but I do want to say I thought it was very cool. You rarely ever see this, that they decided to stick with Southport of where this takes place. Like they kept the name the same. Like obviously Haddonfield, Illinois, they shot that in, California, So you don't see that portion a lot of it. So I really like the fact that it was shot in actual Southport, and even in the movie they went with Southport. So I thought that was a cool little nod. Southport is a very, very, very small town. It is a very, no disrespect, but it is a very cheaper type of town. It's very busy. It's right there on the water. It is a fisherman town, is um crazy as that sounds. Um so
Boy, boy, I'm eating some crow here.
no. I'm just saying it's I can tell you they didn't put a lot of work into this. They really went, and I don't want to, no disrespect to everybody involved, but they went into it, I felt like, and just blocked off roads and shot it. I mean, outside of the gym, which is now a restaurant, the gym that Barry was working out in, the theater is still there. Jennifer Love Hewitt, who plays Julie James in the film, her house is still there. It all looks the same. The roads are very, very narrow there. It's small. Um, all that entire movie, Sean, you could walk to every filming location pretty much. Except for the mountains and where that takes place and the windy roads. That was out in California, I believe. But everything else, as far as the town, it's very, very small. It is a fisherman town. Um, but they didn't put any work into it. So I definitely see what you're talking about there. Because it kind of seems like that they just went there and did it. So I like stuff like that. So I gave it an 8.5.
So the interesting thing with this movie is it was shot for about $17 million, which is quite a bit of money back in the mid '90s for a
That
horror.
is pretty high.
That's not
What they
including
spend it on? What they spend it on?
right? Like I don't know, man. I gave
No,
it a 6.5 though. I gave the cinematography and the set design 6.5 because I
yikes.
liked a lot of it. And then the stuff that I didn't like, I really didn't like. Like that theater is just
It's still the same. It's it's very, very small. It's yeah.
it
They
looked like
literally
the place I used to play floor hockey about 20 years ago.
no,
So
no. I mean, no lie. They walked in there, put chairs down, and put up a design of the pageant, and that's pretty much it. The up top where Barry gets killed, that's all the
where'd
same.
the money
Huh?
go?
You said what?
Where'd the money go? I thought I read that the ice that Jennifer Love Hewitt picks through on the boat at the end is actually gelatin, and if you look closely, you can see it moving, like
Yeah.
not when it's falling. So that's interesting. Brings us to writing and directing. Um, yeah, it's kind of a mess. It's almost, in my opinion, anyways. The Some of the lines in this movie are brutal, and I can't help but wonder what the author was thinking watching this thing. Unless her writing is that bad in the novel. I've never read the novel. I'll be honest. Until we knew we were doing this, I didn't know this movie was based on a novel. So I'd love to sit here and say I knew that. I did not. Um, there's not a lot to go off of here with the writing at all for me, man. This is dreadfully bad. If this was just a writing category, I'd be giving it like a 2. That's how bad I think the writing in this film is. Uh, However, the directing in the film, I actually think is quite good. I think they do a lot with very little. Um, we read an example about how the director sort of got back at the studio in order to change something. He bombed filming it, and it makes you wonder how many times someone intentionally filmed something shitty to try to get it changed, and then it doesn't get changed. Like, if we're hearing that story, you got to assume the other story exists somewhere. So, but the directing I thought was really good, and if I had to guess, since the core four didn't really have a lead that stood out with a ton of big screen experience, I can't help but wonder if the director was their leader on set and led the way. And like that chase sequence does not happen without great direction, and that chase sequence is a chase sequence that rivals some of Halloween's best and is a lot better than a lot of other chase sequences in Halloween. So the directing, if it was just directing, I'd be giving it an 8. It's not just directing though, it's writing and directing, and I'm giving it a 6. But I wanted to point out that I thought the directing was actually really good.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go ahead and just say my score 8. I did give it an 8. I know the writing isn't the best, but like I said, I really enjoyed it, and I did mention that some of the lines were very corny, but the directing really sticks out here for me, man. And I agree with you. I said it the other night when I was watching it. It's one of the best chase scenes I've ever seen in a horror slash thriller film. The way when Sarah Michelle Gellar, when her character jumps out of the window and comes in front of that shed, and it's just that you see the shadow of her running, and then you see the shadow of the hook, and just the way that he was walking, you see the hook swinging, you see that silhouette of him. I mean, it's just absolutely an amazing film. And then you get them, not only that, you get them running all the way across town, all the way up to the antique shop or whatever kind of health shop it is. And it's just I just thought that entire scene was amazing. And even throughout the film, I thought the shots were really great. And to your point, they didn't have a lot to work with. So I understand your point with the writing, but I'm actually going to give it a high 8. So
Mike the Forgiver. That's what we're gonna call you. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I thought the directing was great. The writing, I don't know. Sound and score, though, this is the one that kills me. Um,
This is interesting because let me kick this off.
Go ahead.
I'll kick it off. I actually thought it was pretty solid. I did, and especially to me the chase scene. I mean, I thought during the chase scene, the dun, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good. Now, come on. I mean, I can't this. I got to remember also, this isn't a John Carpenter. This isn't John Carpenter. This isn't, The Shining. This isn't any of those movies who have amazing scores. Um, but yeah, I thought it was pretty solid. I gave it a 7.
Um, it's a heaping pile of shit.
Come on, man.
I fucking hate the score in Halloween H2O.
I think
It
you hate every
really
score in the 90s.
ruins the movie. Yeah, 90s scores, man. Halloween 6 is decent. And there's a couple of decent Friday the 13th ones as well. Or I guess Jason.
Yeah, I was just messing with you,
Yeah.
man.
But no, the chase sequence is a high point. It feels good. And then I started wondering where I'd heard it before. And it's like, oh, this is almost note for note the same
As
Michael chasing Josh Hartnett and
it
Michelle
is.
Williams, and when Michael's walking like this
It
through
is.
the, I don't, yeah,
It's very, very, very similar. And I had issues a little bit with the score in Halloween H2O, but also I love H2O. So maybe that's why I Know What You Did Last Summer. I guess we all kind of have our taste, and it's funny how these films kind of correlate with each other, and our tastes correlate with what we like and what we don't like. So I don't know. I always like diving into this stuff because your taste and what you enjoy really sticks out.
I actually found that the sound design in the film was pretty on point. Now there are some horror movies when we get into the sound design that are just really sloppy,
What do you mean by that?
easily done. So, for example, like when Jennifer Love Hewitt is shuffling through the ice, as we know that's not real.
Oh, okay.
It sounds phenomenal when Sarah Michelle Gellar breaks the window in the cop car. It sounds great when David for Max throws the hook into the ice. It sounds great. There's a lot of cool ominous sounds in it when Hookman's just passed or if they've just passed Hookman. So the sound design's great.
Yeah.
It just went for that typical. I mean, I guess a lot of '90s movies were doing that type of theme, but it doesn't scream menacing. It sounds more like the cop theme from H5 than it does anything menacing.
Oh, that's disrespectful as shit.
So yeah, that's what it reminds me of. It drives me nuts, man. It's
Man,
the
that's
melody.
tough.
Yeah, uh it's cool though that you grabbed the like even I was like, yeah, no, it sounds exactly
Oh,
like
100%. Yeah.
H2O. So I gave it a 5. And that's basically
That's not as bad as I thought you were gonna say.
I really liked the sound design.
So
Uh
if you had to pick the sound or the writing, I'm guessing the sound.
Oh boy.
Well, you said you give the writing a 2, so if you give the score and sound design a 5, I guess that wins.
Well, the writing and directing ended up being a 6.
True. You did. I'm just saying. You mentioned that
Sound
the
design would
writing.
probably be like an 8 or a 9, and the score would be like a 2. Yeah, that's
Oh,
probably
okay,
where.
pretty even.
But I give it a 5, which gave me 30 out of 50 for our final score, and it gave Mike 40 out of 50 for his final score. That put the movie at 60% for me, which again I didn't think was that bad till Zach read the Rotten Tomatoes. Sorry, I thought was kind of bad till Zach read the top Rotten Tomatoes score off the top for us, which was 43 from critics and 40 from audiences. So I'll take my 60%. Mike gave it an 80%, which gives us a final score for I Know What You Did Last Summer of 70%. I think that's pretty solid for a 90s horror movie. Like, this film is going to be measured up at some point in time against The Dark Knight.
I'd
Dark
be
Knight's not gonna score 70, so this score in 70 is pretty decent.
I'd be interested. I haven't done this. I don't know if you had, but to go back and look at the Rotten Tomato scores for the 90s, just to look at them. Obviously, this one isn't a 70. That's our score. That's a lot worse on Rotten Tomatoes. But I'd be interested to go back and see what those horror movies rank in the 90s.
We invite everybody to the Gold Room. Take a dabble in the poison. Take some of Jack's magic liquid, and tell us right now in the comment section down below what is something you would change about this film. For me, I'll lead it off. I could say, hey, the writing and the score, but I'm not going to pick those things. I'm going to say that this film needed a couple of more deaths. I thought that we could have had another character or two involved just in order to get them out of the picture, if you will. So I thought that the film needed a little bit more in terms of deaths, and I think the studio probably felt the same too. So yeah, more deaths. How about you, Mike? What's your poison?
Well, it's interesting you said more deaths this week, because I said more deaths for The Shining. So, man, and The Shining one was hard to pick, to be honest. But for this one, um, man, this is tough, because I really do enjoy this film. But for me, and this is gonna be harsh, but I doubt I'll ever meet the guy. Recast Freddie Prince Jr. That's what I would do. And no offense, because I forgot, I had to go. What did I give the acting? I gave the acting a 7. So, or something like, yeah, 7. So, I mean, for me, you recast him, I think you're pretty okay. I think you're pretty okay here. I think for me, that 7 could go up to an 8, and maybe an even 8.5. So I don't know. I mean, no disrespect to him. I just thought that he was the clear outlier in this film. And I know that's a big ask to do if it's something you could change, but it's the poison, man. That's something I'd change.
So there you have it. I would have more deaths. Mike is saying, fuck you, Freddie Prince Jr., you're fired. He would cast somebody else in that role. The question is, what would you change? Let us know down in the comment section below. We would love to hear what you have to say. But that's going to do it for another episode of the Overlook Drive-In right here on Empire. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I just gotta ask you. We don't have to jump into it, just a simple yes or no.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the second sequel to this, or the sequel to this,
I haven't seen the second sequel.
or this one?
The
I'm sorry.
first, the direct sequel to this, I've seen it. I think I've seen it twice. I feel like it takes place on
An island.
Yeah, an island, right, in like a big hotel. There's lots of rain.
Yes.
Freddie Prince Jr. is basically not in the movies in like the beginning and the end. He's away.
Mhm.
His part of the movie is basically to get back to her.
Pretty much, yeah.
And deaths happen. I don't remember much.
Well,
I don't know
you
how they explain who popped through the glass at the end of the first movie.
You get your more deaths.
So I don't remember, but tell you what, this podcast is going to be going on a while, so maybe we'll revisit that movie.
Dude, I am so excited for the next episode. I cannot wait for you to watch Hush and for us to discuss it. If you come on this episode next week, or whenever we film it again, the next episode, if you come on here and you do not like Hush, I might have to resign from the podcast, or at least take a couple weeks off, because I love that movie.
Man. Yeah, Hush. Speaking of upcoming movies, we have Hush. We have Jaws in IMAX, Quiet Place 1 and 2. And not that I've seen Hush yet, because as of the recording of this, which we're recording this August the 15th, I have not seen it yet. The plan is to watch it this Friday night with my fiance, but we are expecting our baby girl literally any minute, hour, day now. So,
has Jade seen Hush or no?
Neither of us have,
Oh,
and
what an experience.
I have yet to dislike a Mike Flanagan movie.
So really, if you think about it, the next for next 4 movies you haven't seen. You've seen Jaws. We've all seen Jaws, but not in IMAX. So it's going to be
Right.
a new experience for all of us. So
Yep.
these next 4 films are going to be really great for me because I love them, but especially for you. I'm really excited for you to jump into them. Hush, but really both Quiet Place movies. You want to talk about sound design? You're going to love this. You're going to love the sound
for it.
design.
I've
So
heard nothing but amazing things. So definitely looking forward to diving into that. There you have it, 1997's I Know What You Did Last Summer, 70% right here on the Overlook Drive-In. Check us out on Facebook at the Overlook Drive-In group. Twitter is at Fandom Empire now. Patreon's patreon.com/Fandom Empire. You can find Mike on Twitter at Michael Bish _. And Mike, where can they find your other podcast at, man?
You can find my other podcasts on all podcast platforms. The Take One Podcast. Yeah, follow me on Instagram at Michael Bish _ like Shawn said, and I check me out on Fandom Empire Live every Tuesday night. So
That's right. The Phantom Empire show, Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. Although, actually, there's no point in telling them about that because it'll already have happened. That's going to do it for us. And we'll see you next week for Hush. We Know What You Did Last Summer.
I fucking hope not.